Good morning once again, class. So today we will take up position of women, marriage, economy, agriculture during the Sangam age. Up till now we have learnt about the food and dress and the entertainment, and we learnt about the tinais or the divisions and what the people living in those particular divisions did for their living. Now, position of women. The status of women in Sangam society was not equal to that of men. The Sangam society consisted of different kinds of women. There were married women who had settled down as dutiful housewives, looking after their husbands and children. There were female ascetics belonging to Buddhist or Jain tradition, like Kondi Adikal and Mani Meghalai. There were a large number of courtesans. Now, however, women enjoyed freedom of movement in society, and the number of women poets of the age is a proof that the women were provided with good education. So here in the beginning you think that everything was negative where the women were concerned, but this tells us that they were allowed to freely move out. They were not restricted to the Parda system or within the four walls of their home, and most important is that they were given good education. Maybe not all, but even if few were allowed to get educated, then it speaks a lot about the society at that time. Now, the worship of Kannagi or Patani, the chaste lady, was perhaps a very early institution and was an extension of the worship of the goddess of chastity. But this seems to have become popular with Senaguttuvan's worship of Kannagi, and it spread to distant places like Sri Lanka in the south and Malwa in the north. Now, coming to marriage. There is little information about the institution of marriage during the Sangam age. Later works like Tolkappiyam and Kalavel say that the Aryans introduced the rituals and ceremonies of marriage, that is called Karnam. These works also mention the spontaneous coming together of the sexes, not necessarily that they were married. Later works distinguished secret marriage from the open alliance contracted with the consent of parents. So, people who loved each other, liked each other, they were staying together, getting married, and open alliance was when the consent of parents were there, and secret marriage was when the parents did not get to know or they did not approve of the couples getting together. They refer to the 8 forms of marriage known to the Sanskrit Dharma Shastra and show great ingenuity in fitting them into framework of the Tamil scheme. Now coming to economy. The economy during the Sangam age was simple and self-sufficient. The people were industrious and they believed in living well by earning wealth. So work hard and enjoy the fruits. The Sangam literature points to the existence of both the wealthy and the poor people in the society. See children, this is everywhere. This was everywhere, not just in Indian culture or Eastern culture. The same was true for the Western culture of the times as well, as it is true in the present society. The wealthy people included the kings and those who surrounded them. The poor were either the farmers and casual laborers or the wandering minstrels. The division of social groups into the rich and the poor was accepted as natural, as poverty was considered the result of the past actions of men. So, again see, very ironical that if you are poor, if you can't do well, then it is because you must have done something bad in your past life. Now coming to agriculture. Agriculture was the main occupation. The main crop was rice, while other crops included cotton, ragi, sugarcane, pepper, ginger, cardamom, turmeric, cinnamon, different varieties of fruits, etc. Construction of embankments and canals for irrigation was undertaken by the state. This was the duty of the king. Chera country was noted for its jackfruit, pepper and turmeric. In the Chola country, a piece of land yielded much paddy. Many rural activities like the cultivation of ragi and sugarcane, the making of sugar from the cane, and the harvesting and drying of grain are described in the Sangam poems in detail. So, different countries were popular for different food product depending on the quality of the soil and the climatic conditions. Now, other occupations. Next to agriculture, spinning and weaving were the most widely practiced crafts. Spinning and weaving of cotton and perhaps also of silk had attained a high degree of perfection. Spinning was the part-time occupation of women. The weaving of complex patterns on cloth and silk is often mentioned in literature. And Urayur was a major center of cotton trade. The poems mention cotton cloth as thin as the skin of the snake or a cloud of steam, so finely woven that the eye could not follow the course of the thread. So children, even today the fine cotton is very light and very smooth to the touch. Scissors and needles were not known. In addition to cotton and silk, cloth made of wood fiber was also used by the priestly class. So like we have jute fiber, so they were using the wood fiber, but it is not clearly mentioned over here which kind of wood was being used. Now dyeing was a widespread ancillary industry to weaving. Ancillary which provides support. Shipbuilding, metalworking, carpentry, rope making, ornament making, tanning and making of ivory products were widely practiced. Tanning is, children, please write down, converting animal skin into leather. Then we come to trade. The Sangam literature is full of details regarding the commercial activities of the people. Trade, both internal and foreign, was well organized and briskly carried on throughout the period. Internal trade was brisk. Not just internal, foreign trade was also brisk. Caravans of merchants with carts and pack animals carried their merchandise from place to place. Though they say that most of the people were poor, but then again the trade was brisk. So that means that they did have money to spend. Maybe not like the poor rich, but they did have money for their necessities. Most of the trade was carried on by barter system. Paddy constituted the most commonly accepted medium of exchange, especially in the rural areas, because it was an commodity, a necessity. Okay, so everybody had it. So it was the accepted medium of exchange. Salt was sold for paddy. Paddy was sold by mentioning its price in terms of salt. Honey and roots were exchanged for fish oil. Toddy, sugarcane and rice flakes were exchanged for arak. Toddy is a kind of fermented liquor, country liquor, which is made from coconut tree. There is a, children, you can even check out on the net how it is, how they leave it overnight, and there is a cut is made, and then the liquid is poured into that earthy pot, and how they collect it and how they treat it. There were established markets called anguri in the bigger towns. Elsewhere, hawkers carried goods to the houses of the people. There was an extensive trade with foreign countries. According to the Sangam literature, the Tamil land had certain commodities which were in great demand in foreign markets. These included pepper, ginger, cardamom, cinnamon, turmeric, ivory products, pearls, precious stones. So the people were quite rich during the Sangam age. The main imports included horses, gold and glass. So these were the main imported items. Now the port cities were the centers of foreign trade. Big ships entered the port of Puhar, bringing in precious merchandise from overseas. So the family of the rich merchants lived on the upper floors, while the lower ones were set apart for business. Saliyur in the Pandya country and Bandar in the Chera are among the most important ports in the poems. The Periplus of the Red Sea, that describes navigation and trade of the Roman Empire, gives information on the trade between India and the Roman Empire. It mentions the ports of Nora, Cananor. Tindigs identified with Panoni and Muziris, Tranganore as of leading importance on the west coast. The Periplus also mentions Urayur. All the pearls from the coast were sent to Urayur and exported. It notes further that a great quantity of muslin was made in the region of Andhra. So a lot of weaving was going on over there and the industry was thriving. Trade and commerce was thriving during the Sangam age. The gold and silver coins from the Roman Empire found in the interior of the Tamil land indicate to the extent of the trade, and major trade was with the Romanians. Now children, with this we come to the end of the chapter, the Sangam age. Please, I want you to go through the entire chapter 3 or 4 times. If there is something which you have not understood, please note it down and we will discuss it when the school reopens. And there are small tidbits in each and every chapter, not just history and civics, other things also, where now as you have the time and you have access to internet, please open up all those links and find out. It is very interesting. And I hope you are taking care of yourself and keeping safe. God bless you, children.